Hello everyone, how's it going? This is Joshua Loya, the aspiring servant warrior. How's it going? Wanted to say thank you very much for all of the encouragement and kind words about my surfing clip. If you look back on my channel, it's the blind guy catches a sweet wave. A lot more views on Instagram, so if you want to check that out there, that's another place, Joshua the Jedi. In any case, thank you very much. I always appreciate any encouragement, but if you haven't seen that, go ahead and check it out. Like I said, I think it's something like Blind Guy Catches a Sweet Wave or something like that. Anyway, it was just a few weeks ago, my first surfing lesson with Coach Pat Weber, San Diego Surf Academy. In any case, I wanted to say, kind of give you guys an update on what's going on. What is the state of the journey so far? So you're like, journey so far? I don't know who you are. So if you don't know who I am, this will be a little bit of an introductory video. If you do, you already know that a little over a year ago, I quit my job in this crazy idea of becoming a professional adventurer. What does that even mean? I'm still trying to figure that out. Here's what's going on, and kind of I'll take you through in as succinct a way as I can what has happened over the course of the last year and change since I made this crazy decision. So just give you a little bit of background. I'm, if it's not obvious, totally blind. I've been doing martial arts of some kind now for 12 years, August 2005, consistently. I dabbled a little bit, did some Kung Fu when I was in high school for less than a year. Thank you, Sifu Anthony Daniels, if you're watching for whatever reason, randomly. And also trained with, for a little bit less than 6 months in my early 20s, up in Santa Cruz when I was still living there, in Bujinkan Ninjutsu. So that was a really fun experience, and thank you, Sensei Mark, if you happen to run across this. So here's what's going on. I had in 2013, I had been doing mostly traditional martial arts or traditional style martial arts, Guardian Kempo and Guardian martial arts, and I wanted. I hadn't had nearly as much grappling experience as I had thought might be good for me. Somebody who's totally blind, grappling is a great martial arts to be comfortable with. I figured, this is, yeah, it's more impressive when a blind person is able to do, kicking and striking and stuff, and that's cool. I love that stuff. It's awesome. But what is the deal is I knew that for my own development, I really needed to get some grappling. And so I started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, thanks to Sensei Mario Schaap, who teaches the Adaptive Martial Arts program at the Blind Community Center of San Diego. Quick plug, Thursday mornings and Saturday mornings from 9 a.m. to 11. All classes are free, and you're welcome to join us whether you have a disability or not. So I started training up at Studio 540, then Gracie Academy, Solana Beach. So then, maybe a little over a year ago, maybe further back, in May of 2016, I starting that I can talk, really, professional speaker even. I started doing judo as an adjunct to my jiu-jitsu, and I just kind of wanted to give it a shot. I was already exhausted from my class with David Reed on Thursday night, and I was just kind of catching my breath, and I heard Justin Flores' voice say, "Judo in 3 minutes." And I'm like, okay. I ran into it. I seriously, I wanted to pass out just from the warm-ups alone. It was crazy. But I enjoyed it. It was a completely different experience than I'd ever had before, and I wanted to pursue judo. And I thought, let's give this thing a shot. And as over the next few months, I thought about, where could this go? What's the really the top of the, what's the most outlandish and ambitious thing that I could have in terms of being ready for something and making some accomplishment in judo. Now, I kind of had got a little headstrong as far as things went because I'd had over a decade of martial arts experience. Yeah, I was still kind of just settling into being a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at this point, and still, a blue belt in BJJ at this point. Regardless, I had perhaps an unrealistic expectation as to what it would take for me to qualify for the Paralympics in 2020 in Tokyo. Now, is it still possible for me? Maybe. I'm I'm not going to lie, judo is a lot harder for me than I expected it to be, but it's still good for me, and I'm still going to pursue it. And if for some reason I make it, that's awesome. And I'm still going to keep going until I can't. And regardless of whether I qualify for the Paralympics or not, as ambitious as that is, I still want to learn judo. I think it's great for me. I think it's a good choice. I think that for me, anyway, it has allowed me to confront my fears, do something that I'm not naturally good at. Judo has a lot of subtlety in it that's different from the other martial arts that I've studied. And so I want to stick with it and learn more about it. And thank you, Justin and Jacob Flores, for teaching me. So after having a conversation with Justin and some conversations with Jacob, I decided and kind of mulled it over and realized that if I was going to get good enough, as unlikely as that shot of of even making it to Tokyo, let alone actually doing well, as much of a long shot as that might otherwise have been, if I had any shot at all, I was going to need to devote my whole life to this. I was going to need to train multiple times a week, more than just kind of an evening thing. I had a lot of improvement that I needed to do if I had any shot. So in August, I made the decision to quit my job. I think I actually might have decided towards the end of July, but I gave notice in August. And August 19th, 2016 was my last day as an access technology specialist in the employ of Braille Institute in their San Diego campus. Now, what is an access technology specialist? Basically, it was my job to teach other blind and visually impaired people how to use their computers, how to use the smartphones, their iPhones, the tablets, and other sort of little gadgets and things. It was my responsibility to teach them that, to kind of help build the curriculum of how do you gain skills in dealing with technology if you have a visual impairment. And I felt like I did a good job. I wasn't there for that long, but I really felt good about the work I was doing. And I have a lot of regard for anybody who works in that role. I think that it's actually a lot more difficult than most people think it is. And I also think that anyone who teaches anybody anything, especially obviously I would prefer you're actually a good teacher. That being said, teaching is not an easy task. It's not an easy occupation, regardless of whether you are a school teacher, adult ed, or in my case, somebody who taught skills to people with a disability to kind of overcome that. And so even though it was, I felt really good, I needed more. And I needed to kind of see where this whole judo thing went. So August 19th, 2016, my last day. For the first few weeks, I still maintained my Wednesday, Friday schedule at Guardian Quest Martial Arts. I've since adjusted that somewhat. I'm actually only at Guardian Quest Martial Arts on Fridays now. Generally speaking, an occasional belt promotion thing, I might show up for that or what have you. But most of the time, I'm actually up at Sanchi Judo now. Because after talking to Justin and Jacob, they recommended I go up to their old judo club in Vista, and that's what I do. That's actually I've got to be honest. The last few weeks I haven't been able to make it up there, but typically speaking, Monday, Wednesday nights now I spend getting extra rounds in judo up in Vista at Sanchi. So Monday mornings 10 a.m. got judo at Studio 540. Wednesdays noon Studio 540. And Thursday nights after jiu-jitsu. Now I still also ramped up my jiu-jitsu because I figured I had a solid base in that. It's a great way to stay in shape, and there's some fantastic people teaching. I love learning from Joel Tudor, Jeff Higgs, Leticia Ribeiro, so many cool people, Richard Cullivan. I'm super blessed to be able to train at Studio 540. It's an amazing place. And one of the reasons I felt free to make the decision that I did relevant to my involvement with Guardian Quest Martial Arts. Two things. One, I don't live close enough to Vista to make the trek worth it if I was to take public transit up there. I live in La Mesa. Vista is on the other end of the county. If I didn't have my wife's support, her standing by me, I wouldn't have been able to do it. I couldn't do it right now without her. So her willingness to drive made a huge difference. Also, I thought about it. I had some pondering. I did some prayer on the subject and kind of what's the right decision to make. And I also talked to my Kempo instructor, Soke Scott Conway, or Master Conway, if you will. And he was 100% supportive of whatever I chose, because he wants me to be the best martial artist I can, regardless of whether he is directly involved. Now, he still is. I'm still learning Kempo from him on Friday nights at his dojo in Spring Valley, and I'm happy to do that. So where did I go from there? So I started ramping up my jiu-jitsu and my judo training, getting some extra rounds of randori up at Sanshi. In November of 2016, I was promoted to yellow belt by Justin Flores and Jacob Flores. And then I had my first judo tournament in November 9th. And then, this is mid-November is where things kind of slowed down for me just for a little bit, where I was looking at this whole financial thing. Now, I'd had some extra finances kind of laid around from when I worked at Braille Institute, and had some accounts that I needed to spend off because of a couple of things. And we were doing okay for a while there. And eventually, things kind of slowed down. I was kind of going, okay, well, how am I going to keep doing this? I had a close personal kind of family friend come by my side and offer up $1,000. I had somebody else say, here's a plane ticket to Dallas, and I was able to compete in Dallas at the President's Cup and the Dallas Invitational Judo tournaments, and that was awesome. Got my butt kicked pretty soundly while I was there. Now, did I place in all of my divisions? Yes, but that's only because there were 3 or fewer people in those divisions. But the thing is, when it comes to medals and all that kind of stuff and placing, who doesn't place? The people who don't show up at all. So I still feel good about my performance there. Do I think I could have done better? Yes, but it's only my second time doing judo in terms of the competition experience. So I felt pretty good. Craziest thing there, though, is the one and only visually impaired division that I competed in was against Ryan Jones. Ryan Jones is a far more experienced judoka than I am. At the time, he'd been doing judo for 10 years and was a black belt, still is black belt. He was the only one in my weight class in the visually impaired division. So that's what I had. And that's what I had to do. If I wanted to have an experience competing against another visually impaired person, I had to fight Ryan Jones. He beat me with a pin in the first match, and then he threw me for a solid ippon, the drop knee Sayonagi. And, that was humbling for sure. I got to tell you, though, nothing like it in terms of an adrenaline rush. While I was in Dallas, though, unfortunately, I got the precursor to an uncomfortable injury. So in one of my matches, in fact, it was my last match, I think, while I was there, after fighting Ryan Jones, I got hit with an uchimata. It's sort of an assisted hip throw. You use your leg to kind of help. I'm not going to get into the throw. Those of you who do judo or jiu-jitsu, you might know what an uchimata is. The guy clipped my inside of my left knee, and that kind of set me going. I had been doing a little bit too much extra training, not enough strengthening and stretching. And sometime after that, when I got back, I woke up on either Friday or Saturday. It was Saturday morning, and I couldn't walk on that leg at all. And so I went to the urgent care, and I eventually got on crutches. And then I decided to go with my wife, Andrea, for whatever reason, Monday morning to Studio 540 to just to kind of hang out. And that actually ended up being the morning she got her blue belt in jiu-jitsu. That was a really cool day for me. I was super stoked to be there for that. I would have been bummed if I had missed that. And so that was really, really cool. But while I was there, I got talking to Uncle Joel, Joel Tudor, our primary jiu-jitsu instructor. And I started asking him about, telling him about my injury. And he's like, yeah, get on the bike, do some wall squats and stuff. And that's all I needed. Within less than a week, So I couldn't walk on Saturday. By Wednesday, I didn't need crutches anymore. So thank you, Uncle Joel, for that. And I still wasn't 100%. So I scaled way back on my judo training. I didn't really do judo training at all for a while because I didn't feel comfortable taking a fall. My leg was kind of rattling around my knee there, and it wasn't a good spot. So what did I do after that? Eventually, I got some physical therapy, and now I've made a complete recovery. So I'm super stoked. Thank you also to Ariana Escobar, who teaches the yoga class at Studio 540. That helped a lot too. So here is then what's the next thing? What was good? What was the challenge? So middle of January, I was starting to incorporate judo training again, and we had some crazy rain. San Diego doesn't get a lot of rain. Nobody knows how to drive in the rain. My wife is actually really, really good at it. That being said, she had an oil slick. Ran off the side of the road, crashed the car, and our car was totaled. She was okay, thankfully. But that put more of a strain on our finances because, one, most importantly, we had no idea how we were going to get a car. And two, the car that we had really good gas mileage. It wasn't great, but it was decent. And from La Mesa all the way up to Solana Beach, and let alone up to Vista, that's a lot of driving. I wasn't going to make it on public transit, and if I didn't have Andrea's help, I wouldn't be able to make it up there anyway. Not in a timely fashion. Just wouldn't be realistic for as much training as I'm doing. So what did we do? I put a call out to my friends on Facebook saying, hey, this is what's going on. Hopefully I can figure something out. Some people who wish to remain nameless came alongside. Some amazing jiu-jitsu people. They offered me and Andrea the use of their truck. Such awesome people. And within a couple of months, I had actually put up a GoFundMe account because I didn't want to borrow this truck from them forever. It just didn't seem right, and we got a car. I had a few people, awesome people, come up and kind of give some money to our GoFundMe campaign. And then I had a friend who was selling his 2002 Yukon XL, and I had another person who came alongside and decided to donate the $3,000 necessary to purchase it. And the extra people who donated money to our GoFundMe campaign paid for our smog check, paid for our registration, all that kind of stuff. So that was awesome. I felt really, really good about that, and I'm so amazingly blessed. After that, we got the opportunity to teach in Idaho, and for the Idaho Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired, got paid to teach a martial arts seminar out there, and that was so cool. Not only getting paid to teach martial arts, but getting paid to teach out of state. Extra bonus for me is I have family out there. My aunt, my uncle live out there. I have a cousin who lives out there. My dad and my stepmom my mom and my stepdad live out there. And family vacation and visit along with getting paid to teach martial arts sounds like a plan to me. So we actually decided to drive our Yukon out there. Not the greatest gas mileage, but it's a car, and fairly well maintained. We made it out. Unfortunately, our fuel pump decided to give out 2 hours out from Boise. And that's a lot better than it could have been, because there were spots, kind of areas of the state of Nevada where we had no cell service, there was nobody around us, and if our car would have broken down there, who knows what would have happened. That would have been crazy for me. As it is, if I didn't have the help from my Aunt Christina, thank you, Aunt Christina, I wouldn't have been able to do it. I wouldn't have been able to make it. It wouldn't have been possible for me to kind of manage with this whole thing. And but we made it. Like $600 and something later, we were able to get out of Twin Falls. Nice town, I'm sure, but when you don't have the choice of leaving, it loses its charm just a little bit. So that's what we did. We finally made it up there. Thank you, Lane Emeru, who kind of bridged all that and made us able to do that. Thank you. And I just got to teach some really cool basic self-defense principles where blindness doesn't have to be an issue. And for our biggest thing, these were people who are fairly young, kind of late teens, early 20s, about ready to go into college, live on their own for the first time, and we wanted them to have some basic self-defense skills and principles that they could apply right away. And not anything fancy, a lot about keeping connection, using your tactile sense, all that kind of stuff. I wanted to provide something of value, and I think we did that. I think that was really kind of a valuable experience for us as well as for the people there. My wife, again, as I mentioned earlier in the video, she has all the same martial arts ranks I do. We usually do super well tag team teaching together, and that's one of the most awesome parts of my life is when the two of us get to teach together. Really stoked on that. So we eventually made it back, and then not long after that, got a chance to do surfing for the third time in less than a year. Swami's Surfing Association had another blind surf event. Ran in again to Coach Pat Weber and Scott Leeson. Scott Leeson being a world champion surfer, visually impaired surfer, and he and Coach Pat really encouraged me to give this whole surfing thing a shot. I kind of hemmed and hawed and said, judo and jiu-jitsu is kind of my main thing, but I'll think about it. And got a chance to compete in California State Games, again, senior novice division. Some really good judo performance on my part. I feel really good about my fights. I still came in 3rd out of 3. So, if you're doing the math and you're kind of thinking back, well, you've done judo for a little over a year and you haven't placed, or you haven't actually won a single match. It's true. Do I think it's still worth this is worth my time? Absolutely. Because for me, it's not about whether I win. Obviously, do I want to win? Yeah, I totally want to win. Otherwise, I wouldn't even bother. That being said, I would rather fail miserably. I'd rather go down in a giant cataclysm of flames trying valiantly than, when I'm however old I will be when I die, lying there on my deathbed going, man, I wish I would have done more. So I'm still stoked about getting the opportunity to compete at the California State Games here in San Diego. Definitely not the most prestigious tournament, but still a challenging tournament for me, and I felt really good about my performance. So we'll see how I do the next time. I then in August, Swami's put on another, no, let me back up. Swami's did not put another surf event out. I was thinking about the year before. Talking to Coach Pat a little bit more, he said, hey, let's do this whole surfing thing. There's a surfing contest coming up in October. Why don't you give it a shot? I was like, well, I've barely ever surfed. I've only surfed a handful of times. Do you think I can really do all that well? And he said, yeah, we'll get you up to, I'll work with you, come out and work out with me and Scott. We'll make this thing happen. So a few weeks ago, I got a chance to work with him. Went out again last week with the, the Lions Club of Encinitas. They put out a surfing event. Actually, I was kind of funny too. I got a chance to not only have a clip of me surfing on the news as well as a clip of me wiping out, by the way, I'll admit. But I got a chance to kind of share some of my thoughts on the news with Dave Cutter out there and Coach Pat. And then actually that same Sunday, just a little bit south of us at La Jolla Shores, we were at the South Ponto in Carlsbad. At La Jolla Shores, there was another surf event. I can't remember the name of the organization. I apologize. It was like Roll On Surfing or Roll Off Surfing or something like that. They put on a surf event for people with spinal cord injuries, and I don't know. To me, it's so cool to kind of see people with different life experiences, disabilities or what have you, just pursuing adventure. That makes me so excited. I can't even tell you how much of a difference that makes for me. So to be able to know that that's possible, just even knowing that there are people without legs that are out there on surfboards, that there are people who otherwise would not have the opportunity to ride a wave that are out there doing it. I feel super, super awesome about this. Just even contemplating that people are doing it. And that's kind of my thing too. Why do I share my story about this? It isn't because I want the attention I mean, yeah, I've been in bands and stuff, and I like being on stage and whatnot, but I also like giving people some hope, and I like other people trying new things. So bringing it up to speed, where you kind of got the cliff notes of what happened over the year. There were a few things I missed, but for the most part, just a lot of training, a lot of cool new experiences. And where are things now? So I'm working on a book, getting coached on how to do that effectively by Dr. John Oda, who has previously worked with Tony Robbins' organization. Shout out to Dr. John Oda, and thank you for your help there. And also recently got invited to teach at a Jeet Kune Do Expo in Santa Cruz, my hometown, by Sifu Harinder Singh, whose book Mind Boxing is coming out in October. And he invited me to come teach. Now I'm still trying to figure out the logistics of how I'm getting up there. I'll get to that in a minute. Also, surfing contest in October. Looking forward to that. Already registered, ready to go, continuing to get more surfing time in with Coach Pat, and I think I'll be able to do well. And at the very least, I'll have fun, and I'll hopefully encourage other people to give surfing a shot. In November, it is my intention to compete at the Dallas Invitational and the President's Cup judo tournaments. I don't know how I'm getting out there. And that brings me to my current state. So where is my struggle? Because I seem to be having a good time doing what I'm doing. And I am. I'm loving it. I'm having just, the ups and downs. Yeah, but, if you don't have some valleys, you're not going to be able to appreciate the mountaintop. And so I feel really good about it. This has been a fantastic ride so far. Where's the struggle? The struggle for me is finances. I'm not a financial wizard. I am very inexperienced, and I don't like to be the car salesman, but I recognize that if I don't sell myself at least a little, I'm not going to have the opportunity to go do as many public speeches, keynote presentations and that sort of thing. And I do that, and I've gotten paid to do that, and it's been an awesome experience. I love sharing my story. Small groups, large groups, one-on-one coaching sessions, totally stoked for that. If you have any interest in that, it is joshuathejedi.com, or you can hit me up on Facebook, facebook.com/joshuathejedi, at Servant Warrior on Twitter, and I'll also actually give my phone number as well. That's 619-273-3657. Now, with all of that being said, I still have no idea how I'm going to get the money to get up to Santa Cruz. I've gotten this opportunity to teach, but whatever money is going to come from that isn't going to finance me getting up there. I still have to have. I need some repairs and a tune-up in my car, and I need the gas. As I mentioned, our lovable Hagrid, our giant 2002 Yukon, it does not get the most efficient gas mileage, but it is our car, and we don't have to make payments on it. So that part's awesome. But I don't know how I'm getting up there. And, I'm trying to figure out, how I'm going to pay for some of the costs associated with my book. I have, my writing process is largely connected to, dictating into a voice recorder and having somebody transcribe that, and then, I kind of expand from there and so on. So I have to pay for some of that. I know I'm going to have to pay for an editor or two coming up pretty soon, because I'd like to have this book out before the Christmas or holiday shopping season, because I'd like people to be able to get it by then. So, how am I going to make all this happen? How am I going to pay for my tickets to Las Vegas? Sorry, not Las Vegas. I'd like to go to Las Vegas. How am I going to pay for my tickets to Texas? And, I've incorporated Muay Thai training. Tiffany the Time Bomb Van Soest, she's an amazing teacher. Tony Morlett, some great people to learn from. But how am I going to pay for my gloves and my shin pads, and my wife's gloves and her shin pads? And I know I'm going to need another judo gi here pretty soon. How am I going to pay for all that? Well, I felt kind of weird. A couple weeks ago, I put up a GoFundMe campaign for my expenses relevant to training. And I felt a little weird doing so, because there's a lot of people that are hurting from Hurricane Harvey, Hurricane Irma, some of the storms connected to that. There were a lot of wildfires in the west part of the United States, especially in the Northwest, up near Oregon. Some friends who were affected by the fire up there. I felt a little weird asking people to give money to my cause when there were people who've lost their homes, who lost everything. And I felt kind of weird. And, I thought about it, talked to a couple people about it. And, the thing is, if I don't tell people there's a need, there's no way for me to get the help. Well, not entirely true, but you won't know that there's a need if I don't tell you. And if you want to contribute, I would love it. That being said, don't give to me if you can't do it with a clear conscience. If you would feel more at peace with donating to the people in need in Texas or in Florida or in the Caribbean, or people who were affected by the fires, do that first. Do that first. I don't want you to feel mixed purposes behind providing money to my cause so that I can figure out how to make this whole professional adventurer thing work. It's not what I want. That being said, if you want to contribute, I'll put it in the description below, and we'll try to have a graphic up here of it. The link to the GoFundMe campaign is gofundme.com/blind-marshall-adventuring, and that's it. So gofundme.com/blind-marshall-arts-adventuring. I might have misspoke the first time. So blind-marshall-arts-adventuring. If you like what I do, if you like what I'm trying to do, if you just think this is cool, you like what, just even some of the things I've said in this video, consider giving me some love, whether it's financially, that's cool. But if nothing else, if you like what I do, go ahead and like this video, share, please subscribe. The more subscribers I have, the more I have the opportunity of sharing and, kind of putting this whole adventure lifestyle out and financing it somehow, because, YouTube likes to look at how many subscribers you got. So please do that. Share with your friends and family. If you want to go look at something perhaps a little bit more entertaining, look at my my surfing video. If you want to ask me a question, please do so. Put it in the comments. Hit me up on my social media links. I'll put those in the description. I love seeing people try unique things, and this is the last thing I'm going to leave with you. So, if you are trying something unique, whether you're trying a new career, whether you want to go back to school, whether you want to go to school for the first time, whether you want to travel the world, whether you want, whatever it is, you might even want like a more traditional sort of 9-to-5 job. That's awesome. But whatever you choose, there's always going to be a naysayer or several naysayers. People who even want to protect you from the pain of the loss, you don't want to get your hopes up. Well, maybe I do want to get my hopes up. Maybe I do want to try for something and feel good that I tried and feel good that I strove for something that was seemingly impossible. Somebody, I think actually might have even been Coach Pat, who said to me when we were out surfing one day, he said to me, if you shoot for the stars, you still might get the moon. It's the idea is that if I don't shoot for those stars, and this is me kind of going with that, if I don't shoot for those stars, well, I'm never leaving Earth at all, but at least I'm going to hit the moon. Maybe I'll be able to use the moon as a jumping off point to beyond, to other planets and other new life, new civilizations. Thank you, Captain Kirk. I got to try. And if you have something you believe in, if you believe what you are doing or what you want to do is meaningful, do it. Maybe figure out the most effective way to do it, but do it. And feel good about your effort. Because if you succeed at everything you do, you're not reaching far enough. If you succeed and you complete every single task you strive for, you're not reaching enough. You're not stretching yourself enough. And maybe you don't want to stretch yourself. And I'm not going to push you to do it. But if you want to have a life that's abundant, if you want to have a life that's meaningful, challenge yourself. Do something hard. That's why, despite how much progress or lack of progress or success I've had in competition, that's why in judo I still do it. There is value in struggle. There is value in seeking to face your fear. For me, judo has been incredibly difficult. It has been incredibly scary, but I do it anyway because it's good for me. And if there's something that you think is good for you, dare to suck. Dare to be awful at something. and get a little bit better and a little bit better until when you look back several years or however long down the road, you can gain some level of accomplishment from how far you've come. You might not notice the progress you've made right away, but you will eventually notice it. So thank you for hearing me out. That's the state of my journey so far. If you'd like to contribute, if you'd like to offer some encouragement, please do so. The links are going to be in the description. Also, please, if you have any questions, leave a comment or send me a private message. That's fine. I would love to hear from you. So I think that's about it. I'm going to leave it at this, and I really appreciate you letting me take the time to share my story and kind of what's going on so far. Try to put up some more entertaining content for you soon. God bless you, and I love you all. Peace.